And we're live.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in onto the point with
Skip.
and the King. Right now, we got our favorite reoccurring guest. By the way, guys, go down there, click subscribe, click like, let us know what you think. Our favorite reoccurring guest, the one and only, the mouth of the North, Mr. Andrew Reece from the Reece Report. By the way, guys, go check that out. If you like football, he just posted his video on week 2 NFL picks. If you like hockey, wait till the upcoming season. If you like baseball, Skip will be on there. If you like basketball, Skip and I will be on there. If you like wrestling, I've been on there, and he has a new one coming out covering the AEW. Andrew Reece, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show, my man. You know, we got nothing but love for you. How you doing?
Oh, I'm a busy man. I'm getting requests out the wazoo to come on my show all of a sudden. So I'm getting a lot of traction from people who want to be on the show. Hopefully that leads to some new subscribers, you know?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Seriously, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's heartfelt. So, now, guys, Las Vegas can be wrong on a lot of things. Morality, you could say, depending on what side you're on. The Raiders, both. Looking at you. But then again, their odds where they have it. Right now, for your Toronto Raptors, the way they have your Toronto Raptors for this upcoming season, they have them posted as last in the division. They have them 11th overall in the conference, so therefore they cannot make the playoffs. They have them tied for 21st with the Sacramento Kings, you can say, overall. And not to mention the over-under, I don't know if you guys bet, I don't, but they have their wins at 36.5. Now, Andrew Reece, you're a Raptors fan, so I want to ask you this. Do you think your Toronto Raptors can make the playoffs this year with that roster that they currently have available?
Okay, so my answer is twofold. If OG Anunoby becomes what I think he will become, which is, you know, maybe what Kawhi was just before he became a superstar, maybe average 24 a game, be great defensively, and become the quiet leader that Kawhi was, then I believe the Raptors can make the playoffs. Win total, I'm not going to do that. I think they can be an 8th seed in that conference. Maybe surprised if Siakam comes back healthy and helps out the team after the first month. If OG does not take that step, I think the Raptors are not a playoff team. Simple as that.
Really? Simple as that?
Yeah.
Now, Skip, in order for the Raptors to make it to the playoffs, can you give me 5 keys in order for them to get to that level?
Well, yeah, first of all, I just want to say that there's questions about almost every player on the roster. You brought up OG. OG wasn't even on my list. I've got about 5 guys on my list, all guys who have huge questions who could really impact what happens with the Raptors this season. So the first one is, can Van Vliet step into Lowry's void? Because we all talk about Lowry being the rah-rah leader, being the guy who led the team. And that's important. That's key. I mean, he was there for the longest time. He was the guy who saw them through their peaks and valleys throughout as they were growing and becoming a better team. But more importantly is the impact he had on the floor, right? Because he made everybody else around him better. And Van Vliet, he's a good player. He's a solid player. He does his job really well. But I keep coming back to this. In my heart, I think he's a shooting guard. He's not a guy who makes other guys better. He's a guy who excels in his role. So can he make that step? Can he make strides towards becoming that player? Number 2, Scotty Barnes. What is Scotty Barnes? What can Scotty Barnes
Shout out
be?
Robert Mishovich.
We're talking about a number 4 overall pick here. We can talk about positionless all we want. That's great once you get to a certain level, if you can be positionless and switch. But the one benefit of having a position is that you know your role. If you're a big man, you know you have to get in there and rebound. If you're a point guard, you know you have to distribute the ball. If Scotty Barnes is going to come in and do all of those things, what is his like excellent NBA skill going to be right off the bat? We're going to have to see if he knows his role, if he can excel in his role, find a place on this team. Third, obviously, Pascal. What is going to happen with Pascal? Can he come back healthy? Can he come back as good Pascal? Can he come back as the Pascal that kind of struggled through most of last season? Then there's the whole question of whether he's going to be a bit of a diva, kind of demand the ball, whether he can play his role in the team, or whether he can excel as this big superstar. But that's a bigger question. I think that's a larger issue. I think the main question is whether he can come back healthy and ready to go. Point 4, Goran Dragic. Is Goran Dragic going to show up? Is he going to play hard? Is he going to try? Is he going to really embrace his role and be like, you know what, I'm not on the team I want to be on, but I'm going to try my best and I'm going to try and get this team into a playoff position? Or is he going to sulk and try to get traded at midseason? That's another huge key. And the 5th key kind of has to do with Dragic. It has to do with the rotation in general. So I think if you look at the starting lineup right now, I think the way it lines up, like the obvious starting lineup would be VanVleet, Trent, OG, Pascal, and Khem Birch as your starting 5. But the problem with that is that basically leaves all your natural point guards coming off the bench. You got Flynn coming off the bench, you got Dragic coming off the bench, and you have Scotty Barnes, who's sort of a hybrid point guard type player, coming off the bench. So with Pascal out for the first month, I think it's going to give them an opportunity to kind of maybe put one of those guys into the starting lineup and play a bit more of a balance, have a bit more of a balanced guard position. But we're going to have to see how that kind of rotation shakes out through the season. Maybe Trent comes off the bench eventually. Maybe someone else comes off the bench. I think it's just going to be, I think they have a really good sort of top 9, top 10, but it's going to be really important to see how they distribute those minutes, whether it's subbing in a guy 2 minutes into the game, whether it's starting somebody who on paper should be coming off the bench. That's going to be a bit of a key. I think it's just optimizing that rotation to become the best team they can possibly be. So yeah, that's my 5 keys, and that's pretty much where I stand. I think if all of those things break in the right direction, the Raptors can absolutely be a playoff team, but they could go the other way as well.
Reece, just a quick question. Who do you see as your starting 5 before I get into this?
Well, if the only thing I would change is if Goran Dragic is going to be on the team, he's going to start. And the reason why I say that is they need a point guard. And Goran Dragic, I've watched him play with the Phoenix Suns and across the NBA. He was a very effective player in Miami until last year when he was injured. He can be a very valuable player to this team if he brings his good attitude, which he's always had, his leadership, and his ability to play the point. I believe that is a big key. I probably should have mentioned it before, but I wasn't sure about his status. He should be starting for this team, and VanVleet should be starting at the shooting guard. I do agree with Skip about him being more of a shooting guard, more of a slasher. I believe he's a great leader and can be that, and I believe he can be what Lowry was as a leader on the team. But as far as him being a point guard, no, I think he's more of a shooting guard. I don't think Gary Trent should be starting on this team at all. I think he should be coming off the bench and giving you like boost scoring, like burst scoring, just like Boucher did. I think those two together could be a nice little bench pairing along with Achua. Sorry if I said your name wrong. And then Flynn with his volume shooting. Dragic, to me, he will try whether he likes it or not because he's in a contract year. So if he wants to either continue his career and make some more money or go to a contender as he wishes, either way, he needs to show up for the Raptors and play well. So
okay, so your starting 5 is your starting 5
I would start Dragic, VanVleet, OG, Birch, and because Siakam's out,
I think we'll see Trent in that spot to start the season.
It's probably going to be Trent. But if it were me, I would start either Barnes or Boucher in that spot over Trent. But that's not going to happen because I know, I know that Nurse is not going to start Boucher. So.
Okay. So guys, what I have for my starting 5 is I have Birch at the center. That's a no-brainer. You know he's going to start. I have OG, okay, and obviously I have Fred VanVleet, and I'm thinking Goran Dragic as well. But the wild card, I kind of got to agree with you, Reece, is Scotty Barnes until, as your wife calls him, Mild P, is injured until he comes back. That's what I see as a starting lineup. Like the bench, I see Freddie Gillespie, I see Malachi Flynn, I see OG leading.
Freddie Gillespie's getting cut in training
no
camp.
question.
Yeah.
Go on.
I'll say this: his comments in the offseason were anything but spicy. I'll say that.
Well, I enjoyed that because this is what this is one of the questions I want to ask you guys. As of September 16th, 2021, on the New York Times, an article was published with the reporter Sopan Deb, who interviewed Pascal Siakam and asked him a lot of questions. And Pascal had a lot to say. So, Reece, I want to ask you, what do you think about what Pascal had to say? Take your time.
Okay, so I want to get the quote right first before I go off on this guy. So it says here, part of the issue that Siakam says was a problem is the organization did not communicate with him what his role would be after he got his big payday. Just hold on to that thought and realize how ridiculous that is, okay? Then he says, obviously Kyle Lowry was there. Okay, Kyle Lowry was the leader. I understand that. Being a point guard, Kyle was to me the greatest Raptor of all time. We all agree with that. I think he always was like the guy. Okay, sure, he was the guy, all right? I had a contract, but never felt like I was the guy, to be honest. Now, when you get paid max money, it's a given that you're the guy. When Kawhi Leonard leaves this team, who was clearly the guy when they won the championship, okay, now, I understand what Skip says when he says Lowry was the heart and soul and the leader. That's fine.
The engine.
But the guy, when we won this championship, I'm sorry, Raptor fans, was Kawhi Leonard. We do not win the championship without Kawhi Leonard. I'm sorry. And you can the proof's in the pudding the following year when Siakam was supposed to be the guy and was absolutely terrible in the Boston series. All the Raptors needed was an average Siakam and they win that series. So for him to come out and say he didn't know he was supposed to be the guy after Kawhi left, even after the bubble season, is a ridiculous thing to say. And I was, I didn't want to trade Siakam. I wanted to give him a chance. I understood the bubble. I understand us not being at home last year. But those comments really, really make me scared of seeing him in a Raptors uniform after his injury. Because if he doesn't understand that he was supposed to be the guy after Kawhi left, then there's something wrong with him mentally. And it probably is the reason why it's led to him struggling the way that he has, mentally and on the court, and for the things that Nick Nurse has gone through with him last season. If you don't know you're the guy when you're getting the last shot every single game, there's something wrong with you mentally. There's something wrong with you on the court if you don't know you're the guy. He got the last shot every single game. That means you're the guy. Hello? Is anybody home? That means you're the guy. So those comments are ridiculous and drove me crazy. And I even more pray to God that OG steps up and becomes the superstar that I know he can and takes more of a leadership role, because clearly this guy either doesn't want it or is not ready for it.
I think first of all, those comments were taken pretty far out of context. The reality is, if you read the article, you read the actual interview, all he was saying there is that he's looking to step up with Kyle Lowry gone. And then it was hard for him to be this superstar player with Kyle Lowry there. Now, whether he is that player is a whole other conversation. I don't necessarily think he's that player, but I don't think that him having those comments was problematic at all. I think he was just saying, like, all right, Lowry's gone. I got to step up. I got to be the man now. And that's fine. And honestly, that whole interview, I thought that was a really good interview. It was an honest interview. He was getting into like his real thoughts. The reporter was asking him what really happened. And he was like, the incident with Nick Nurse last year. It was like, yeah, nope. I was pissed he took me out of the game. Then we talked about it and we're cool. And Brian can attest.
How many times you and I have gotten upset at work?
Yeah, Brian
Okay,
can
Skip,
attest
but
to this. Like,
does
Wait,
it
hold
not
on,
sound like he was saying it was an excuse? Did it not sound like an excuse to you
no, people fight all
for
the
his
time.
struggles?
Like,
No,
if,
for his struggles that I didn't feel like I was the guy. That sounded like an excuse to me.
I think there is maybe a little bit there to be said that we shouldn't be putting this pressure on him, that maybe he shouldn't be thinking of himself as the guy. He's much better as a second banana. We all,
Absolutely.
I think, agree on that.
Absolutely agree. Yes.
So the one concern I would have with those comments is that we're going to see ISO Pascal who kind of hijacks the offense. That would be the one concern from those comments. But overall, I think what I got from that is that he wants to be in Toronto. He's happy with the team for the most part. He just knows he needs to be better than he was last year, and he's going to go out there and he's going to try to be better. And that's all you can expect from an athlete. That's what it is. That's what professional athletics is. Like, improve a season to the next. Like, that's all you can try and do. And I thought that was a pretty honest interview. And he said he's going to come and he's going to try and be better after his injury. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I was pretty impressed with the interview overall, to be honest.
There's no question he's struggled. He's got worse since Kawhi's left. There's no question. He had his worst effective goal percentage of his career last year. He was not an effective player by himself or in the Raptors offense. So I don't, with him out a month, we're going to find out a lot about the Raptors with him out for a month.
Hold on. Okay. You're talking about last year? He was infected by COVID and he lost 20 pounds. That guy's skinny like me. If I was his size, 20 pounds is a huge difference.
I've never seen a player struggle more than him at the end of the game. He was horrible at the end of the game. Turnovers, missed shots.
But later on at the end of the season, just before his injury, he stepped it up. He was executing.
When there's no pressure and it doesn't matter, Brian, it's easy to step up.
That's
obviously it is.
And Skip would agree with me there. I know he does.
But that's one of those things that develops over the course of your career, right? Like, he had a couple shots rattle out at the end of regulation. Like, that happens. You come back the next year, you get better. You calm your nerves down a little more. Like, you learn that job better over time. And I'm not especially concerned about whether he's going to perform at all. We can argue about whether he is the guy who's going to lead this team to the next franchise, to the next championship. And I don't necessarily agree that he is, but I definitely think he can be here for that. I think he can be a member of that team. He can be an important member of that team going forward. But we are going to need to see somebody like an OG or Scotty Barnes step up beside him. I don't think he can do it alone. But he's not the problem here, I don't think.
I think clearly mentally he was struggling mentally. I don't disagree with him saying that he was struggling mentally. No question. You could tell it was affecting his play. What he said was affecting his play because the turnovers, like, we're talking double dribbles, we're talking like a fast break where he's traveling on a 2-on-1. Like, clearly he was struggling mentally. I don't disagree with that at all. But it's time to, like, step it up now, and the excuses are over now. He's got to be better.
Let me hit you on both fronts from that, based on what you guys said. Okay? Mentally, from playing basketball, if you are getting paid more than the other guy, but that guy's the man, you kind of are uncertain about where you fit in, what your role is. You might become apprehensive. You might have a lot of inhibitions. You're not sure about what you're doing because that's also based on the role that you're playing. So it affects your mentality and your role because, as again, you said the miscommunication earlier between the organization and him, he was not sure where he fit in exactly. Now he is defined as where he is going to fit in. Granted, when they won the championship, he was, I would call, the third fiddle behind Kawhi and Kyle. And that's what I would call it. But after, if you read the article, he talked to Kyle, Mr. Lowry, the engine, Mr. Raptor, the GOAT. And Kyle said, this is your team now. And it is his team now. So now let's see how these guys, like Skip just touched on, that could back him up, the OGs, the Bouchers, the Scotty Barnes, the Malachi Flynn's. Let's not even get started on my mom's favorite player, Freddie Van Vliet. Not to mention like the Ken Burch doing his part in the middle. He knows where he fits in. He knows he's not going to score a lot, but he knows his job and what he's got to do. So Skip, I got to ask you, do you think Pascal is ready to be the man? Or do you think he might need another year or two of grooming?
So first of all, I want to back it up because what you said about why he was struggling, I think that's sort of like how he was painting it in the article. But I think the reality is it's much more like, okay, that first season with Kawhi and Kyle, he had no pressure on him. He was playing free and easy. He was just being himself. He was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be this crazy whirlwind. I'm going to be the best player I can be. And he wasn't thinking about it. He wasn't focusing on it. He was just playing. He was playing. That's the key. Playing a sport. And then you get the contract, you get the expectations, you get Kawhi leaving. Suddenly it's like, all right, Pascal, you're the guy. You're the one who's taking the shot at the end of the game. And then you start thinking about how you're the guy.
He wasn't ready for it.
You start thinking about, oh man, I'm the guy. I can't miss this shot. I got to make this shot. I got to carry this team. Overthinking, but also when you're playing sports, you can't be thinking at all. Your brain should be quiet, totally quiet. You start thinking about, oh boy, what's going to happen if I miss this shot? You're done. So I'm not saying that he was really, I still think he played okay. I don't think he was a complete disaster like people are painting him as, but that stuff can just weigh on you just a little bit and slow you down. And suddenly you start missing a couple tough shots and everyone's hitting you really hard and it just gets worse and it spirals from there. So I think what he's saying is Lowry's gone, fresh slate. He's ready to be that guy now. And if that's true, that's great. And I hope it's true. We'll have to see though. We'll have to see.
Because he did say basketball was not his first choice in life. He didn't pick up a basketball until he was 17 years old, according to that article. He did say one thing that I want to touch on, guys, which it kind of hits me as a visible minority. Since he underperformed last season, a lot of people made a lot of racist comments towards him, which I think was completely uncalled for. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care where you're from. Toronto is the most international team in the NBA. Second is Dallas, with the amount of players on their roster. And what happens? They're going to talk something about Japan with Utah? Or
those are not fans, though.
Those comments were not coming from Toronto fans.
Correct.
Those are
not
just
Toronto fans.
Canada fans.
They're fair weather fans. And I just got to put that out there, guys. I was very offended with that. And speaking of Toronto being one of the most international teams, the most international team in the league, there is that connection with the Messiah that Pascal has from Africa. And that's why they're pretty close to a lot of players. But he did say something. He said, to paraphrase, he did say, Toronto, we've always seen ourselves as the underdog. And we feel that we don't get the respect that we deserve from the NBA media in the States. South of the 52nd parallel. Shout out to Robert Misevic. We already covered this. And I did think, I do respect him for what he said when it came to those comments.
Yes, Robert, I apologize to you, but I know you're probably going to be shaking your head listening to this. But listen, it's not personal. I love the Raptors. I would never say anything personal about Siakam. But I'm telling you right now, what I said about him is what I feel. So, I hope he comes back. Look, I don't want to trade Pascal Siakam. I know a lot of people want to trade him to Sacramento. I don't want to trade him. I don't want to give up on him yet. I just thought
they don't want to trade him.
Those comments to me made me more worried than I was before I heard them.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, speaking of, guys, I think we pretty much covered this, but speaking of international, I just want to throw something out there. As of today, I think we've all seen, you sent the link, I sent the link, you sent the link about one of the, Skip can spell this out, on the Antetokounmpo brothers getting signed to Toronto. He's going to be the king of the Danforth.
The weak freak.
It's not confirmed yet, but I did see some posts about it today. So maybe we might be getting our Antetokounmpo after all.
That's Masai stroking his ego because he didn't get the real freak. Come on. That's all that is. Maybe
right,
one day
guys.
he'll
We'll
join
see.
us because
We'll see
he's
if
there.
it goes through. It hasn't
Right.
processed yet.
Yeah.
So.
We'll see what happens there, guy. And even Svi, we got so many international players. I can't wait to see the season start. I hope you guys are as ready as I am. It's Andrew, Mouth of the North, the Reece Report. You guys go out there, click subscribe on his show. If you like wrestling, baseball, basketball, hockey, football,
Soccer.
I even seen you started doing soccer. I even seen you start tweeting about
program note:
racing.
if the Jays make the playoffs and their bullpen doesn't choke, I will have Simon on for playoff reports.
Yeah, we're gonna have to cover that.
Yep, if they make the playoffs.
And you guys know where to find Simon at Dougie J's on Twitter, SimonBroder.com, running the point. Go buy that. Reece, it's been a pleasure having you on. Skip, I love seeing your beautiful face. You can find me at King Hussein on all social media platforms. You guys can find us To The Point Raps on Twitter, YouTube.com/To The Point Podcast, To The Point on Facebook and Instagram. And on behalf of all three of us, guys, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, and
Peace.